Welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. My name's Jess and this is Extra Tyne. I have been joined tonight by my guest co-host, Kristan. How's it going?
I'm not too bad, thanks. How are you?
Good, I'm good, thank you. Did you have a good Christmas, New Year, all that?
Newcastle aside, yeah. Lots of presents.
I don't know if we can still ask about Christmas and New Year, but it's been that long since I've been on. I haven't spoken to anyone. So we're also joined tonight by Laura. Are you all right, Laura?
Hello. Yes, I am, thanks.
Good. And we're joined by Alex as well.
Hiya, good to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us. So, well, as always, this is just a glance at Newcastle United and what a shitty week it's been. Let's not be terrible. We'll go straight in with the Arsenal game on Saturday. FA Cup, we kind of wanted a cup run. We almost got there, but after 109 minutes, we finally succumbed. Kristan, what were your thoughts?
I came away from that thinking if Andy Carroll had scored, Bruce would have been happy with it.
Yeah.
I think it would have been like an archetypal Bruce performance, really defensively solid.
Yeah.
And then nick a goal from a random, which it was. The chance that he missed at the back post was total random. I don't think it was constructed in any way.
No. It was. I mean, it was disappointing. I don't think we ever looked brilliant, but it's the hope, isn't it? Like with the fact that we held on for so long and we got the extra time, and you start thinking, is there something? Are we going to nick it? But like I said, after 109 minutes, we finally succumbed. Laura, did you watch it?
Yes, well, it was the first time, because I knew obviously we had to talk about it. It was the first time I put my phone away and actually watched the game with no Twitter, no distractions. And I'm going to be a little bit positive. I quite enjoyed the first 20 minutes. I mean, we had 53% possession, I think I wrote down, and we were trying, we were actually going forward. And like Kristan said, if Andy Carroll had scored, I was talking to my dad about it, and I think Bruce plays for 0-0. He would have been quite happy that we didn't get absolutely hammered in 90 minutes, and that was the end of it.
I think I've seen quite a lot of people saying, I mean, obviously it was FA Cup, but people are saying it's as if Bruce is playing for the point. Like, it's like I think he'd forgotten where he was. But I think getting the extra time was probably the best we could have hoped for, to be honest. Like, I've noted down a couple of stats. They had 25 shots, 9 on target. We had 12, 2 on target. They made 738 passes in comparison to our 458. Like, whilst we did get the extra time, we would never really seem to be in the game. What did you think, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I started positively, which I'm certainly not feeling now. But at the time, I was thinking, you've got a couple of people back from injury, which was good. It was nice to see Dubravka. It was nice to see Lascelles. So I was thinking to begin with, we're not getting hammered after 20 minutes. But the more the game went on, and sort of Arsenal grew into it, it was clear that they were just playing badly rather than us playing well. When we got a yellow card like 10 minutes in, which we always seem to do, I'm just thinking this is how this is going to go. And it's just that bit of quality that you'd like to have seen. Yeah, I think we were unlucky, but we're lucky to be in the game that long. So it was, it works both ways, I suppose.
Yeah, no, like I think we've all touched on, like I said, there getting the extra time was probably the best that we could have hoped for. But again, it's another cup that we're not going to win. So attention turns to the Premier League, and now attention turns to staying in the Premier League. So we look to Tuesday. I don't know what day it is today. It's Thursday. So it was Tuesday night. We played Sheffield United, bottom of the league, absolutely dire. And as night follows day, they got the 3 points. Again, similar stats to the game with Arsenal. They had 17 shots, 4 on target, in comparison to our 7, 3 on target. They made 559 passes in comparison to our 283. Kristan, thoughts?
As soon as I saw the formation, I was worried, to be honest. As soon as that was put out, I thought, this is not good, because this was a team, I think you saw every time you pressed them, they look very scared and very nervous because they haven't won a game all season up until this point. And yet, the talk of false tens afterwards, it's just... It's just insane. I
had
can't
to
think of
ask
any
what
other word
that
for it.
was. I didn't even know what a false 10 was. I asked my dad.
I don't think anyone knows what a false 10 is.
I thought that was his
Made that
answer.
up. But yeah, so sorry. With the lineup, I mean, it's well, I was quite is excited the right word? Seeing Wilson and Fraser, to have Fraser back, I was quite, because obviously the whole Wilson add Fraser equals goals, and I was like, oh right, okay, maybe we're gonna start the game, we're gonna attack, but Fraser obviously with his absolute ridiculous challenge straight after a yellow as well, Laura.
It was as if it was just deliberate, wasn't it?
Oh,
I
it was,
think,
yeah.
I think, again, there was, I started positive about Arsenal. There was nothing positive I could say about Sheffield United. Absolutely nothing. It was as if we'd set up against Man City or Liverpool. It was just embarrassing. I mean, like Kristan said, not a win. You could have put your mortgage on they were going to get that win that night when you seen the lineup. He was again playing for a 0-0 and hoping we could nick out with Wilson.
Yeah.
But
I mean, 11 players on the pitch, two of which are like attacking minded players. Do you know what I mean? It's just it was only ever going to go one way for me. And like you say, when we saw the lineup, it was just. I mean,
all the strikers on the bench. Why isn't Gale playing? Why?
Well, that's it. I think it was pointed out on our bench there wasn't one defender.
Yeah, that's what we noticed as well.
Not one defender on the bench, because he's literally got every single one of them on the pitch against the bottom of the league. It just didn't make sense. Alex, what did you think of the game?
Oh, just mad. I mean, I was so furious. I try to be really hopeful. I like to think I'm hopeful, but then 10 minutes in, I think I wrote in my notes, we deserve to go down, because it's just pathetic. and there's just no justifying it. I think there was that column by Alan Shearer, and he was talking about spending 60 million on Joe Linton and Almiron, and them sitting on the bench as the game goes on. But even as it started, I mean, Bruce has spent ages talking about how we're no good playing five at the back, and we never win playing five at the back. So what have we got? We've got five at the back. We've got two holding midfielders. And we're just, as you said, we could have put your mortgage on the fact that we were going to lose. It was that writing on the wall thing where Derby hadn't beat anyone in that season, where they had the records lowest points, and they got their win against Newcastle. Similarly here, it was just so obvious that it was going to go that way, and it just looked that there was nothing that we were doing to try and avoid that. You would have liked to seen a bit of creativity or something mixed up, but it's just the same old, really.
It was. That's the thing. I think because we've been watching it all season, unlike several pundits who claim to have watched us, but clearly they haven't, after the comments that they've been making. For us, it's nothing's changed. It's like you say, same old. We've played that way, apart from maybe the odd game when we've actually gone out, like the first game of the season, West Ham. Other than that, there might be maybe another one, but not that I can think of off the top of my head. Every single game we've gone into defensively minded. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing going forward. But I don't know if you can call it a positive. I'm going to look at it as a positive. One thing that has come from the last week, that people seem to now be switching on in terms of the media and things like that, the pundits and stuff. People seem to be switching on and realizing that this is what we're watching week in, week out, often twice a week as well, unfortunately, because the games seem to be coming thick and fast. But I have noticed in the last couple of days as well, the media seem to I don't want to say turning on him, because obviously it's they have to remain kind of neutral, but the people do seem to be clicking on to the fact that this is shite and not good enough. Kristan, have you seen anything over the last couple of days?
Yeah, I think you're right when you say turn. I think he's got scrutiny for the first time. That's all I think fans are really asking for is a fair account of this is the overwhelming evidence, data, statistics, whatever, that points to this team not playing well. And that was my thought when the game finished on Tuesday was, if not now, then when are you going to attack? If not bottom of the league without a win, have conceded boatloads of goals pretty much all season. I think even if we come out of that game and we'd lost 3-2, I'd say, well, you know what, at least we sort of went for a bit and it was a bit more exciting and enthralling. but it just wasn't. And the Fraser Wilson duo, it reminded me so much of Joe Linton and Almiron at Norwich last season, because it was just those two in the final third trying to do something while the rest of them couldn't get up in time. And that's the frustration I think I have with Steve Bruce, is that he's lectured supporters about tactics and all of these things for quite a while now, and really bit back when people have asked him those questions. And I just don't see how he is changing it. I don't see how he's trying to make things better. I haven't liked every manager that we've had, but at least if I can see them trying to make this progress that he talks about, or putting some thought into it. But I don't. I just see someone that's throwing the same players out there and hoping that maybe a different team talk or a different set of circumstances is going to spark something. And he's just incredibly frustrating. I've got so little time for him, if I'm brutally honest.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think, like, at the start of this season as well, because we've mentioned it so many times on here before. You don't want Newcastle to lose. You're never ever in the position where you're willing them to lose. But we're now in the position where every time he scrapes a result, or like if he shithouses a win, or we somehow manage to get a draw, that's another life for him. Do you know what I mean? Like that's so. While we would never will them to lose, you can't help but think it's like, right, well, that's just bought him another however many weeks or what have you. And I feel like as well, in recent weeks, this whole nice guy mask seems to be slipping as well. Again, at the start of the season, when things weren't going so well, he still had like the redeeming quality of like he's a likable man, and you want him to do well. I don't know if you've noticed that recently as well, Laura.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was always, he's canny, isn't he? Oh, he's a nice man. He's a nice dog. And then it's getting to the point now where everyone's so frustrated. You can't defend him anymore. I mean, I wrote that Jamie Redknapp before the game the other day. Oh, I really like Bruce. I really like him. But he didn't give a reason. He's meant to be a pundit. He didn't give a footballing reason why he liked him. And then after the game, I was willing then to ask him, right, do you still like Bruce? Are you still happy with what you just watched? I was listening to Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard on the Jake Humphreys podcast this week, and they're young, inexperienced managers, and there was not one cliche, there was not one bullshit. It was just all straight to the point, very honest. And then I'm sick of hearing, oh, we'll dust our sleeves up and we'll go again. Dust our sleeves, roll our sleeves up, dust ourselves off, go again. I mean, you must be an octopus for how many sleeves he's rolling up in there. Like, serious.
Brilliant, I love that. It's the same with the football. It's the same with the excuses. It's just same old, same old. I've seen the term dinosaur thrown about so many times, and that is literally exactly what it is. And he's always been the same, and he's never going to change. And unfortunately, I don't think Newcastle United will change either until we get rid of him. Alex, how do you feel about Bruce?
Yeah, it's sort of like we've said for a long time that we're not going to get anywhere under the ownership that we've got. And I'm sort of at the point now where I don't think we're going to get anywhere under the management that we've got. And that's obviously because of the ownership. But it's just sort of like, yeah, we can defend him as much as we want. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, yeah, he's a nice guy. And it's like, you know, it's like your dad. He's sort of, oh, yeah, no, he makes you smile. He says stupid things. But at a certain point, you've just got to be like, but my dad's an idiot. Like, why am I defending him? I never want to attack someone, and never want to really put someone down. But there gets to a point where, yeah, you can see the pressure's on, and it sort of gets to a point where you're just like, actually, it's not a sort of character assassination, but is he the sort of person who sticks to a club and never lets them down? Well, not really. I think it is more about what people have said in the last couple of days. Obviously, he's going to be looking for compensation. He doesn't want to quit while he's ahead, sort of thing, or not even while he's ahead. But it's the thing of, yeah, if the results were there, and when you're saying judge me on 10 games, judge me on half a season or whatever, it's when it's getting worse and worse. And time again, I've said to friends, oh, you know, we might be 12th on the table, but we've got the worst statistics in. At one point last season, it was like the worst in the top 5 leagues in Europe. And people are like, oh, well, what are you complaining about? Because you're getting the results. And it's just the luck runs out. After at a certain point, you become, obviously, the obvious example is something like Sunderland, but even like a team like Stoke or one of these other teams who they just sort of get progressively worse over time. They don't adapt. They don't spend the right sort of money. And eventually you drop and you don't come back up. And it's like, what needs to change? Because the last 2 times we've been relegated, we've managed to get back up first time. Not convinced that will happen now.
Oh,
and I don't think we deserve to. You know what I mean?
No.
No, I don't think it would happen now either. I don't remember who said it or where I heard it or what, but it was a stat about going down to the championship and then coming back up at the first time of asking. It's only something like the chance of it's 1 in 7, or like 1 in 7 teams have managed to do it, and twice that's been us. I don't think we would get a hat trick and do it again if we went down. I feel like the position that we're in now, in terms of management and ownership, there's nothing there anymore. So I feel like if we go down, that's kind of it. Like I can't see. If we went down, there's not really an attraction for anyone to want to come in and buy us. There's not really an attraction for players, for managers. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if we go down, we'll just kind of sink and disappear, and that'll be it.
It's mad. I think over the last 18 months or whatever, with all the takeover stuff going on, I've gone from being the person signing up to the Elliott and Company's house and making graphs of all the different connections between people, being really positive, really on top of it. It's going to happen any day. You're going into lockdown last March, and you're thinking, oh, this is it. And I'm now at the point where, people accuse us of having these really inflated self of expectation, and I'm just thinking, well, I don't really have any expectation. And there comes to a certain point where you've got, championship or below aspirations, management, some of the players, though I don't want to criticise all the players that have been good to us, but actually it's sort of, well, are we a Premier League club? And I think a few people, I think Decker said the other day, we're the worst team in the league. I think we're starting to be shown to be that. I don't like to dwell and be a negative and things like that, but there has to come a certain point where you just admit it. And I think that's becoming clear to everyone. It's becoming clear to Bruce. It's becoming clear to the media. And that's what's changing. And actually, there is something where I want that to be the case, because I want there to be a change. I don't want another thing like the McLaren season where it's too little, too late. But there is that sense of it's like we're sort of just. I think the phrase used by maybe George Corkin was sleepwalking towards disaster again, and that's just sort of where we're going. So actually, the fact that that's being exposed is a good thing, even though it's horrible. It's not on. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't
think
even
sorry.
Oh, sorry, Laura. No, I think.
No, I'm just going to add. I think Bruce is possibly one of the luckiest people alive with the lockdown thing, because St James's Park would have just been. I mean, I was there a few seasons ago with Pardew, and I'm a bit like, I don't like hostile. It's when everybody was really against Pardew, I felt really uncomfortable in my seat. I didn't like it. But I think it would be a million times worse if we were all there. And
I don't think we would still be in the job. Honestly, I think if there was 52,000 fans in St James's Park week in, week out, the response that he would be getting, I honestly don't think. I think it could have possibly been enough to push him to walk, to be honest, because if you just need to go on Twitter, just search NUFC on Twitter, have a quick scroll through, imagine that in person times however, do you know what I mean? I honestly, I don't think anyone would be able to stand and listen to that. So, but I just wanted to go back to what Alex said about the expectations on Saturday during the Arsenal game, just before half time. I can't remember which commentator it was, but one of the commentators said it's 2 minutes till half time and Newcastle will be happy to go in goalless. But then you've also got them saying that we demand Champions League football and we demand trophies and we want this, that and the other. But then in the same breath, they're saying we'll be happy to be going to have not conceded. So it's just a bit like...
It's just lazy punditry, completely. They just say things to get a reaction, and they know we react on Twitter, etc. And it is just contradiction all the time.
Yeah, I do think the whole thing against Bruce has changed massively this week. It seems to have like completely. It's all. I mean, the Chronicle back page yesterday it was. Sorry, that was brutal, but it was deserved. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. They weren't out of line. But
I think Alex makes a good point as well about character assassinations. I don't want to talk about Bruce the person because I don't know him, but I think when he keeps deflecting questions about tactics, when he won't talk about what his style was, I'll be honest, I was the nerd in press conferences that would ask Alan Pardew, what's the role for Vernon Anita? Can you explain that to me? And I just see the same issue with Bruce, is that he doesn't want to articulate it, whether that's because he doesn't have it in his head entirely yet, I don't know. But the problem is that when you refuse to engage in that, you open up speculation. You open up those questions again, loss after loss, because when Arsenal were on that really awful run under Mikel Arteta, people were talking about, is this time for him to go and stuff? We're on a similar run, and I don't see the same level of discourse. I say, oh, well, it's time for Bruce to turn this around. So I just think in general, he's in a very fortunate position. I don't think he anticipated he'd have been here when he took the job at Sheffield Wednesday. And just even the talk of I'm not going to walk, his career says otherwise. He's walked from quite a few jobs, actually.
Well, that was it. I never walk away from a challenge. First time of asking, and he sacked off Sheffield Wednesday. So I don't know. I mean, like you said, you just need to have a look at his career, and that completely proves him wrong. Like, I just think, personally for me, time's been up for quite a while now, but I don't even think we're sleepwalking towards relegation. I think it was in the Athletic where they said that. I think we're free falling. I think we're. Are we something like 7 points clear of relegation zone? And when you think about the results that we've been so lucky with in shithouse this season, we would be right down the bottom if it wasn't for those the last minute goals and dubious penalties and things like that. We would be right down the bottom. But we'll move on because this is depressing. So when we were chatting about what to talk about, because obviously the whole thing at Newcastle United at the minute is it is depressing, and there's not really much you can talk about and enjoy. So I was chatting to Kristan about what we could talk about, and we decided to talk about transfer window. So I'm going to hand over to Kristan now.
This feels like a presentation at work, doesn't it? I've got my laser pointer and everything. Well, no, I think it's a good time to talk about the January transfer window, because I think we can all agree we've got a good-ish squad. It's not a terrible squad, certainly not the worst we've seen this decade. But our January transfer record is not great. So the first obvious question is and I'll start with you, Jess. What do you think is the most important position that we need to address this month?
Well, I know obviously we've briefly gone through this in the group chat before recording, and I think it was you actually pointed out it's midfield, centre mid. I mean, when I don't think I've ever seen, and I've seen a few people comment this on Twitter as well. I don't think I've ever seen a slower, just boring, lackluster pairing and I don't like singling them out, but Hendrick and Sean Longstaff, it's just, I mean, they've just got nothing. But we're talking about strengthening. Who's going to come? If anyone's got an ounce of sense and they've watched any of our games, no one's going to want to.
I would seriously judge anyone. It would have to be somebody completely free, no club.
Yeah,
because who's going to want to come and play this sort of football under that sort of manager?
Is that where your head's at now? Where any player that joins, there's a little bit of skepticism as to what's drawn you here?
Yeah, because I don't think as a professional footballer, yes, there's the pay packet, obviously. However, I think surely there's got to be some ambition there. If you're a professional athlete at the elite level, you've got to want to win things and even just play nice football. And no one can sit and watch our game and go, oh, I'd quite like to be in that midfield. I think that would be good.
If you're watching our games, for the vast majority of the game, all I'm thinking is, what on earth must Wilson be thinking?
That's what I said the other night.
He's completely isolated on his own for, I would say, 75% of the game. He's just there's nothing. He's got no help. He's got an out. And do you think would he have came if he'd known that that's what he was coming into? Because I don't think he would have.
Yeah,
it's sort of it's almost getting to the point where you feel sorry for them, and I think you need to be looking at probably players who we get criticised and we're rightfully angry because we'll be looking at players from the Championship and things like that. But you either need journeyman players or players who are young who want an opportunity just to get some game time, because I think otherwise it's where are they going to come from? Because I love a redemption story. I love people doing really well. You've been very kind in not taking the mic, but I sort of need to because I am an actual priest. So I love these stories of people coming up and doing the right thing. So I love, I try to love Joe Linton. Every time Joe Linton gets the ball, I'm just willing him to curl it in from 45 yards. I was there when Almiron scored his first goal. It was the best day of my life. the problem is you just can't see where that's going to come from at this stage.
No.
And you're seeing so many players just getting worse, deteriorating. This thing of, oh, well, Bruce is a good man manager, doesn't really seem to be the case anymore. So I guess you need to be looking at players who just want a bit of opportunity. The problem is becoming, every time we get linked with someone, and obviously we do get linked with every player in the universe, it is getting to the point where the players don't want to come. And we saw that with, there was some talk of Brandon Williams from Man United, and either the player or the club didn't want him to be there. At the minute, there's a player from Huddersfield who we're linked with. It's a question of really, what is it going to do to their career? And time again, we've had players who actually, it seems like a good move, but we're not seen as this prestigious club where you go and get exposure. It's actually, we can be a bit of a club where the fans get on your back, but more than that, it's usually a club where people are going to sort of finish off their careers, unfortunately, at the moment.
Well, that's the other thing I think is, I'm curious to ask you guys about, is Matty Longstaff is sitting there. He's in, he's out, he's not too consistent with his game time. Do we owe him alone at this point to make his development better? And I'll go back to you, Father. That feels like the best for some divine wisdom.
Thank you. I don't know if I can give you that. But the thing is, I don't know all the stats, but I guarantee that Matty Longstaff is a better player at the moment than Sean is. I mean, I'd rather loan Sean out, knowing that would mean he'd probably never come back, and actually play Matty, because I think Matty just offers a little bit more. Yeah, Sean just seems so lethargic, so slow, and I think he just needs that kick. I mean, I was thinking earlier, we've got a habit of selling or getting rid of players who end up going on and doing good things. You've got your sort of Ivan Toney's scoring and Adam Armstrong's and things. I just wish that we could do something that would revitalise Sean, actually, because Matty, if we're not going to play him, yeah, we need to give him opportunity, and we won't play him. But I think he should be getting first team football at the moment, because it is a little bit like, well, what is there to lose? I think he's doing all right when he's on. The problem is we played him like 3 games in a row, and he's absolutely blowing out his arse. So it's just that balance.
Jess, I don't know about you, but I was shocked Matty Longstaff signed a new contract.
Yeah. I thought he was gone. I thought that was the last we'd seen of him. Like, because there was where was it? It was abroad, wasn't it?
Udinese in Italy was.
Yeah.
All that pasta, and he stayed here. Crazy.
Well,
I think it's because he's ginger. He couldn't have done
too much factor 50.
Yeah, couldn't deal with it.
But yeah, I mean, I thought he'd gone. I thought if he didn't go there, he would have been snapped up straight away by someone else. So that makes you wonder, what was it? What kept him here? Because I don't. I mean, yeah, you forget that he's only what is he, 19 or something? So 18, 19?
I think so.
I think he's 21. I think I looked this up the other day. Yeah.
God, I thought he was younger than that, to be fair. But
Looks
yeah,
young.
yeah. But I thought I thought that was the last we'd seen of him. When all this talk started of him going abroad, I thought that was it. So I'm not too sure why he's still here. I'm glad he is, because what we've seen of him recently, he's like fleeing about the pitch like he's had 7 cans of Red Bull or something. Like, his energy is just like tangible. But yeah, people like him, you do wonder why he's not getting the game time, because, like I say, like when he's all over the pitch, and like he seems to be a proper grafter, which I can't say the same for his brother.
Yeah.
So it does make you wonder why he's getting preference over the other. But
because that's the other thing. Obviously, Matty wanted to stay. One player that wants to come apparently is Jetro Willems. Laura, is that a deal you'd do in a heartbeat?
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Even with his knees?
Well, yeah. I didn't think of that. I was just thinking of just something new, something different, just anything different.
Anything's got to be better than this.
Yeah.
It does feel as if Paul Dummett's not going to be a wing back anytime soon, is he? He does look a bit nervous the further he gets up the field.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was that we had on not long before Christmas, and they'd said that they never expected to see Paul Dummett in a Newcastle shirt again. Like, they were like, oh, he's done. Which I was quite shocked at, but I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Paul Dummett. I do like him. So I'm like constant, as you do with everyone, but like I'm always willing him to do well. Do you know what I mean? So I was I'm happy to have him back. We'll say that.
I think the thing for Dummett with me is there's not many moments of pure joy, but I remember a few years ago when it was like a 3-3 draw with Man United, and in like the 89th minute, Dummett blasted it in off his shin, and it was just amazing. So I still sort of expect that from him, even though that makes no sense whatsoever. So I sort of will him on. But yeah, with Willems, I thought, there's the injury risk there, but it's just that's another position where we just need backup. Because we've got players getting injured, you've got Dummett, and the worst thing is, as much as I love them, when you sometimes see Matt Ritchie on one side, trying his best, and then you've got Yedlin on the other side, I'm just thinking they're just getting slaughtered. We just need to, as well as the central midfield, I think actually getting the sort of wing backs up to date would be good. Obviously, we've had Lewis injured, I think, and just deteriorating rapidly. But Kraft doesn't seem a great deal better. So I think actually just having someone who wants to play and just someone different could be a good thing, although I think it's very unlikely that Willems will end up coming back.
I mean, that's, I guess, the last question for the group, really, is that we've talked about the back five, how ill-equipped we are to play it. The lack of availability in January almost cements that we can't really go forward with this, can we, Jess?
No, I mean, I'm still furious about Lejeune. Like, loaning him out just seems like the least logical thing we've ever done. Like, I don't think we're in we certainly weren't then, and we're certainly not now in a position to be losing anyone in any part of the park. Like, we need depth, and we don't have it. And I can't see, as we've said earlier, I can't see anyone wanting to come. And I think I don't even know if we could recall Lejeune.
The only thing I've heard from Lejeune lately is him saying that after he came back from his injury, he felt a little bit rushed in terms of he played a couple of games in a short space. And he did, to be fair, he didn't look that convincing when he came back, which after sitting, on a bad knee for however many months, I'm not surprised. Yeah. But would you recall him, Laura, if you could? Would you bring him back in?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying yes to everything on him, but yeah, yes, I would.
What about you, Alex?
Oh, sorry.
No, do you want to go on, Laura?
No, you're all right.
Probably no for me, just because of that thing of game time. And I know you had commentators saying that, we've got loads of squad depth, which is just not true. I mean, it was at the same time that we had honourable mentions for Martin Dubrovnik. So we don't have the squad depth, but I think Bruce might have said something about him in the last couple of days, and he was talking about sending Shola over on the plane, which I thought was funny. But it's just that thing of I'd rather have players who are going to make mistakes who we can depend on. And obviously Fernandez has been excellent, but there was that mistake the other day with the handball, and similarly with Clark. As much as we need the depth, I'd rather have some of those guys and even other people stepping up sort of out of position a little bit than potentially rushing Lejeune back and not getting that experience that he could be getting and fitness for me.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
I thought I can't remember what game it was, because I feel like every single game in the last few weeks has just blended into one. But there was a game when I thought Yedlin had played the game of his life. Just before
Liverpool, maybe?
I was literally just about to say Liverpool, and I thought he was brilliant, and since then he's been not so brilliant. So I
think that's just, I don't like to blame him for everything, but surely that's down to the manager, because with Liverpool there was some sort of plan in when they're playing the big clubs. I think a few of our players, dare I say, try a bit harder, and then because he had the game of his life one season, and Bruce kind of lets them play, just go out and play, and then you can't keep that up every game because they haven't got the talent to do that. So I think one game's great and one game's bad.
Yeah, that's it. What you've just said there about it's like go out and play. You can literally hear it. Like obviously you don't have the crowd there now, so you've got when we're on telly, you've got the option to turn the crowd noise off because they have the fake one, and you can literally hear him, and he's just shouting, "Go on, and like that's not an instruction. Like they need more than that.
Nick it. That's the one I keep hearing. Nick it, and I'm like, that's not how this works. It's never been how this works.
It's like, remind them that we're here, don't make it easy, and then you get Andy Carroll like punching someone in the face. He's like, go on. Like,
and I think Nick it sums up the season, to be honest. Well, so far, because I mean, it might be working because the amount of times we've nicked it is So
I think
keep
our
shouting.
luck's run out now. We haven't
Well,
missed it for a while.
no, that's it. I think our luck ran out a few weeks ago, and I can't see it coming back, to be honest. Which brings us on nicely to the Arsenal game on Tuesday. No, Monday, sorry. Monday. Obviously we played them on Saturday. We did hold on for 109 minutes.
Yeah.
So we won't have the luxury of extra time on Monday. But yeah, what are we thinking, Kristan? How are you feeling about the game?
Not good. Really good. But maybe throw Elliott Anderson in. Why not? Just
Yeah,
I
wrote
quite
that
liked what I
down.
saw.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
way more
that,
promise than Joe Linton. Way more
what like
quality.
what we were saying before about bringing in players. The only players that we might be able to get are players who want game time. We've got players. Do you know what, like the likes of Anderson and stuff like that? Give them a chance. Do you know what I mean? Especially in games where you're kind of admitting defeat before you go into it. Like you're going in with absolutely no expectations whatsoever. Why not? Why not throw them in? Do you know what I mean? Laura, how are you feeling about the game?
Not great again. Disappointed. It's a school night, so I can't have a drink. More strikers. He has to change it. I mean, the media have now are on his back. Surely he reads or views or hears from his son what everyone's saying. And I know we said we don't want to like slate his character or anything, but I wrote down, if he doesn't change it, I feel like he's more arrogant and stubborn than we all once thought, because surely you have to change it now. It hasn't worked.
Stubborn's like the perfect word, I think. I think that's probably the word that we've been looking for. Yeah, I think stubborn's bang on, actually. Alex, how are you feeling about it?
I think there's a large part of me, and you'll excuse the pun, but I was saying before the match that we're without a prayer, and I think that is spot on. Like we've just got no chance in a lot of ways. But what I'd like to see, the sort of more hopeful part of me, which somehow hangs on, is just that there's some sort of response. Like we need there was the interview with Darlow after the match, and like in seasons gone by, we had Lascelles stepping up. We need players to step up, and we just need to try tactically something different. We're not going to be able to play this amazing, open, fast-flowing football. But I'd say, well, let's try and go 4 at the back. Maybe we'll get hammered. I sort of almost rather get hammered, but have a few attacks than just sit back and get hammered. I mean, the statistic from the other day was something like 600 minutes without a goal from open play, and the odds for Wilson to get more than 2 shots was like 10-1. I just want something more than that, and it can't be put 4 strikers on and just pump it up the pitch. It's not going to work, but I'd rather that we just try to do something a little bit differently. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I think at this point, Bruce needs to be thinking, he needs to try and save his job. And we need to be saying, actually, is there a chance to stop the season from free falling? And probably not. But if you look at the next set of fixtures, we need some sort of confidence, because otherwise it's going to get really, really nasty quite quick, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we can't. I mean, we're defenders. Each game have done pretty decent, a couple of individual errors, but when I'm watching the game, you can't defend for 90 minutes and keep up that standard of defending whoever you're playing against. You can't keep letting crosses in all the time, giving free kicks away, corners away, and one of them is going to go in at some point. We can't keep playing like that, because the other teams are just going to hammer it.
Exactly. I'd like to think, like we've said, maybe bring Anderson in, but I'd like to think there'll be a little bit of a change up. But we'll see what happens. So we'll quickly go and get some score predictions. I started off quite well this season, and I think I got the first couple right, and since then it's just been absolutely dire. So, Kristan, what are we saying?
I think they'll win 3-1.
3-1. Laura, I
was going to say that, yeah.
Alex?
I'll be optimistic. 2-1 Arsenal.
I love how that's optimistic. I can't see us scoring, so I'm going to say 3-0 to Arsenal. I just, especially from the last few games, I just don't see where a goal's going to come from. And it's hard when at the minute, it's like when the formation comes out, it's every single time it's a surprise, because you've just got absolutely no idea who's fit, who's playing, who's in the country, who's not. It's just
Is Shelby injured? Is that where he is?
I honestly don't know.
I feel like Shelby's been injured since 1996.
I'm not saying it when I'm saying, I was just wondering.
Just getting weird.
I think he might be, but
and I don't know. There was someone else who just disappeared the other day as well. Then I can't remember.
Chef Hendrick.
He disappears. He disappears every single game. But yes, so none of us are holding out much hope for Arsenal on Monday. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you all so much for joining us, Kristan. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being my co-host.
Likewise, thanks for doing the lion's share of it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laura and Alex, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. This has been Extra Tyne on Gallowgateshots. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next week.